welcome back to Mid Thoughts episode 3 already. Today we're going to talk about how to overthink properly. You think you overthink often? Would you say you're an overthink pro? You think a lot about the worst possible outcomes in the future, or the worst possible thoughts someone could have about you, about the already past interaction, for example. Well, let me tell you something. There's another side to the coin, and you cannot claim the money without claiming both sides of the coin. And that other side is positive overthinking. I said it. Oh, not even the bunny could believe it. It's okay. We're all a little bit overwhelmed. It's a lot. But jokes to the side, I think we all overthink. It's a completely normal thing to do, and of course, it depends on your confidence level, your self love, hormones, anything, your surroundings. But what not everyone does is overthinking positively. And this is what we're going to talk about today, how to overthink properly. Before we go into the harder part of learning how to overthink also positive, let's talk about what we all mostly already have way too strong in us, which is overthinking in the negative. It's so easy, isn't it? Of course, the negative thoughts, the negative overthinking, the negative interpretations can vary by person, by situation, by triggers, but it doesn't change it that it has a huge influence on us and how we view ourselves in past situations. Even more, it can also trigger extreme fear in us. Though now I'm thinking about it, if we would just, get into those situations and kind of just approach it head on, it's pretty likely that we would kind of prove the opposite, because usually our negative thoughts are not reality. So if you're the realistic person and you think being negative is realistic, no. Reality doesn't need to be harsh. Reality doesn't need to be cruel, especially in that manner. It's so extreme how much your inner thoughts, your inner world can affect how you view the world around yourself. A little excursus on that. Affirmations. I wouldn't say I was one of those very realistic persons, aka the more pessimistic persons, but of course I also did struggle with low self-esteem. So I, of course, also went into the affirmations. Likely you already had your little taste of that too. I wasn't sure of it, at all. I would play these affirmations on YouTube, and then there was this Zen music, and then a woman voice would be like, "I'm so beautiful. Every time I walk into the room, a light shines out of my chest," or something with light. It was always light. I cannot really recall it. And I was just listening to it, and I was like, mm, I doubt it, which is so weird. Why is it so hard for us to just make it easy, right? Being confident, being sure in yourself doesn't harm anyone, right? So why are we so hesitant? Why do we always need to keep us humble? I don't understand. So, anyways, I kept listening to it every day, morning, night, even sometimes when getting ready. And honestly, I didn't really feel an intense change until one day. I just got out of the shower, braided my hair, I had my PJs on, no makeup, okay? And next to my bed, there was a mirror. So every time I would go to bed, I would have to pass that mirror. I kid you not. My brain was like, "You are so beautiful." Who is there? Confidence? Is that you? I was like, must have been the wind. No, but for real, I was so confused because it came out of nowhere. And it was me. It was me. And that was such an intense experience. And since then, I keep listening to affirmations, always different ones. So if you have some good recommendations, always drop them. But I truly believe in affirmations. And some people say there already needs to be a spark in yourself that believes it. I'm not sure if there was a spark, because of course there were times I was confident, but my self-esteem was kind of changing over time. So I don't know. I would just say give it a try and see how it makes you feel. So back to the negative thinking. I believe we do it often because it keeps us safe-ish. Ish. It's just a thesis. I haven't read on it. Maybe it's in the evolution. Okay. Our nervous system always tries to keep us safe. And it was always important for us humans to stay in our groups to survive. So anyway, we would get pushed away or lose the belonging to that group, we would be in danger, right? Imagine us between tigers and lions and us all alone, and our group just left us behind just because we don't fit in there anymore. That's scary. Though, news break, likely there's no lion next to you. Likely. If that's the case, maybe send me a picture. I would love to see and pet it for me. So we want to prevent it, which makes sense-ish, like I said, right? Now the thing is, there are always two sides to it. It's never black or white. There are shades of gray. So no matter how much sense it makes to want to be safe, to not lose belonging to the group, sometimes that fear, the negative part of it, is too strong, too overpowering, and the positive side just doesn't really get activated, like nothing's coming from that side. Let's say you went to a person you always wanted to talk to, and it didn't really go how you wanted it to go. Let's say you went to that person and you said like, hey, I heard you like this and that. And that person turns to you and it's just like, hey, yeah. It's a bit awkward, right? A little uncomfy. Well, you go home and I bet you cannot sleep because you think that was so embarrassing. That was so uncomfortable. But first off, amazing for trying. Amazing for doing. You didn't even try, you did that. It's amazing. But I understand why you keep repeating that, because it's some good material. Some good material. And those negative thoughts just love to eat on that. Every time you pass that person, you try not to look at them, because you just don't really want to feel that again. You don't want to feel that discomfort. You don't want to feel the slightest hint of danger. What if I tell you that this person was going through something? Let's say the person had like stomach ache because they did something horrible. Or if the person is going through a breakup or just failed an exam. Do you then see the reaction a little bit different? Maybe. So what I'm trying to say with that very passionate scenario, that you cannot know. You will try to control uncomfortable situations, but they will come anyways. If you would just dare to expose yourself to those situations again, maybe the result would be even better. The result would be understanding, bonding, something which was so worth it going into it again, which was so worth it the first uncomfortable interaction. Of course, wait, I want to differentiate it a little bit. Things we feel as embarrassing often aren't even embarrassing, or if it happens to someone else, we think like, oh, it kind of doesn't bother me, or I didn't even notice, or well, I feel a bit bad for them, like just empathy. But I'm with you here. It's just embarrassing. Sometimes it's just embarrassing. It is what it is. You can tell me, oh, I didn't even care, but I feel it, and it's this disgusting feeling, and I hate it, and it's shame and everything. Don't look at me. I want to hide. So what I'm trying to do with these situations, or these amazing little scenarios my brain repeats in my brain when I'm trying to sleep, is to talk me through it, because I tried pushing it away, but it kind of just reinforces it, that it was uncomfortable, it was so horrible, I felt so ashamed, and I don't want that. I want my brain to forget it, so I do everything to kind of unload it from all these intense emotions, right? I'm not really sure myself often, but I tell myself, you're just young, it can happen to anyone. If it happened to someone else, I wouldn't have cared, which is actually almost always the case, but it's always different when it's you, right? It's always different. If you have any other ways, tell them. Write them in the comments. I'm actually curious. Curious? I always say it like curry. I'm actually curry about it. Where was I? That's the thing about the serious mid thoughts. I have no script. Keep losing my thoughts. The string of thoughts. My hair is viral too today, but I kind of like it. Untamed. um, I don't know where they came from. Right, we were talking about negative thoughts, that it's so easy. And it's easy because it just makes it easier for you not to get into those situations again and not feel the discomfort. Like in that manner, your brain is like trying so hard to be smart, and it's like, I'm doing you a favor here, so you will not embarrass yourself again. But actually, it's like kind of doing the opposite, because it like holds you back. But another way how your brain can be so smart is neuroplasticity. And it's one of my favorite topics in neuropsychology. So if you don't know what neuroplasticity is, don't worry, I will try to explain it as unscientific, worded, because it's science, as possible. It describes the ability of your brain to change. Okay? So, like your thoughts, your thought patterns, with that your habits. Imagine your brain and its connections like a way, right? Like a road. Every thought is like a road, every connection in your brain. And the more a thought gets used or a behavior gets used, like every connection, behavior, thought, what you see and everything, the more the road gets built out, because it gets used more, right? So first it's like a side road, and in the end it's maybe a highway. And that's the same with negative habits and also negative thoughts. So if you keep using that neural pathway of certain negative thoughts, yeah, then that road is getting built out, getting used quite frequently. Why squeeze into the tight optimism road when you have a beautiful, steady highway of negative thoughts? So that's the goal, right? To build out your optimism, like it did with my affirmations. So yes, we should also remind us that positive thoughts belong to overthinking, just like negative thoughts. And I always prefer to go slowly, because maybe you had it that you try to force something so strongly, right? If it's some diet, if it's going to the gym, in the end, you stop often because there's so much pressure behind it, so much stress in the game. Like, it lets you waiting usually, and it's always the same, results to the diet, it takes a little time. Results from the gym, it takes a little time. Results of positive mindsets and affirmations and everything, that takes time. But it's worth it. It's definitely a skill you have to build out, because you cannot say that you're an overthinker if you're not doing it properly. Then you're just a pessimist. You're sabotaging yourself. There, I said it. Jokes to the side, because I feel like it's so necessary to say. If you're thinking so negatively about yourself that it makes you feel hopeless, that you feel unhappy, never hesitate to reach out to professional help. You have so much going on: work, school, mental health, family, relationship. By the way, the current world it's a lot. So if you need help, reach out to get help. So back to our overthinking. I think it's not necessarily about only thinking positively, but being fair. Maybe it's not even the goal to always think positively, because maybe that could go backwards also too. Tell me in the comments what you think about it. But I'm just thinking, let's say a social interaction really went bad, or you just don't click and you try it again, which is nothing bad, honestly. Like, just try it again. But you go in with high and bright optimism, but new optimism, weak optimism, and it just doesn't really turn out how you want it to go. That could maybe be counterproductive. So we kind of need to think about a different way. And I, just like I said, tend to a midway, which is being authentic, being honest, no hiding and seeking safety and negative mindsets, daring to be vulnerable, and also seeking support from the outside. I want to tell you about a situation I had in university not long ago. I was overthinking for exactly 1 hour. And since then, I haven't thought about it again. Let me tell you how I did that. It was an exam day, and I tend to get pretty nervous on exam days. We were all standing in the cafeteria talking about some topics of the upcoming exam. And then a young woman came to me, which I really like. We've been talking more lately. So she came up to me, but I was all up in my mind, just constantly repeating what I was learning. And she was hugging me, and I wasn't really returning it properly, or I wasn't even sure because I was so all up in my head. And I stammered some hi, but my thoughts, they were already in the exam room. And I was driving home, and I just kept repeating that situation. I was like, why didn't you hug her back? Why can't you just say hi? And then I was like, okay, stop. Because for what am I being so strict with myself? It was an exam day and I was nervous. If you cannot do it for yourself, imagine how you would tell another person that. So that came kind of natural because I'm already learning that. I've been learning that, by the way, talking gently to myself and just kind of affirming myself, and not, sugarcoating anything, but just grounding myself. That kind of helped me to calm a little bit, but still the overthinking kept pouring in, and especially different feelings than doubt, but more regret, because I thought that was really a moment to bond and to chat, and that just fell away. What I then did, I messaged her and I asked how she was doing, how the exam went for her, and that I was worried that I was being rude by not possibly hugging her back, and that I honestly don't even know if I hugged her back. She replied instantly, and she was like, I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice. And I'm feeling amazing. The exam went, and so on, right? So that was an amazing experience for me, because I was being authentic. I was being vulnerable, and I got affirmed, but also I affirmed myself. I affirmed myself to be able to move forward. It can be a great way, if the situation allows it, if the relationship to that person allows it, to kind of seek validation. You shouldn't be dependent on that, but seeking reassurance doesn't make you dependent. So I think there can be two ways, kind of handling it with yourself and also with your surroundings. Though, of course, you kind of have to check in with yourself. If you tend to get other people involved often, tell me if you think it could be counterproductive. So far, we mostly talked about overthinking in the manner of what has already happened in the past. But there's, of course, also overthinking what will happen in the future. And I feel like this is especially important for optimism. Optimism can be hard, especially if you're used to being more negative, or if you feel like most outcomes so far have been negative, like more of a learning effect, which makes sense if you then hesitate to be optimistic. But let me tell you something, and I think I already talked about it a little bit in the beginning. Make your life as easy as possible for you, because it's your life. Being negative, thinking negative, talking negative, assuming negative will have no effect on anyone else than you. Maybe you learned that negativity from your surroundings, from family, from friends, maybe the media you take in, but still, it's all happening in you and you're kind of looking through those negative glasses, right? So, why would you make it so hard for yourself if you can make it so much easier? At least try to make it how you want it, right? You can think positive, you can think as optimistic and hopeful however you want, fail, and nothing will happen. Let's say you want something really to happen and you involve other people. You don't gotta do that. You don't gotta involve everyone. If you're new to it, don't share with everyone, because that also kind of then predicts comments, feedback, like just overall judgment beside your own judgment, which can already feel extremely heavy. You will not believe yourself in the beginning, but you will learn to believe yourself, especially if we like see it in a more logical way. The situation you're so nervous about, you just assume it will work out. Just that alone can reduce your stress, and the reduced stress can be the reason why you'll do better in the end. What I just had to thought about at that topic is Alisa Liu. I hope I pronounced it right. She's an US figure skater, and she's been in the media for her very optimistic mindset. If you're optimistic about it, if there's less stress involved, less pressure involved, just because you do for the sake of it, for the experience of it, because there's nothing to lose. I think she even said that in an interview. So, as a take home message, I'd say to you, make it as easy as possible, be as gentle as possible, and if you want to have that money, see both sides of the coin and pay properly with it. Thank you for watching. Of course, I always appreciate comments and your thoughts about the video, about the topics. I love to read them and I love to reflect with you in the comments. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye bye.